and we will actually get started in just a moment. So please continue to drop your introductions in the chat, drop them on the collab board. If you did not get the opportunity to introduce yourself on the collaborate board, please feel free to drop it in the chat. And we're actually going to get started. Welcome to Camp Engage. This is my very first Camp Engage. So to say that I am excited is an understatement. Whether this is your first time or you are a returning camper, I am super excited to have you here today. Camp Engage is our free virtual professional learning event that's really designed to kind of spark imagination, build community, and really just kind of help you make the most of your Renaissance tools. This year's camp features sessions on the full Nearpod suite, vocabulary, which is great, Freckle, Lalilo. So if you have not signed up, I highly recommend that you do. You'll find those practical ideas, those interactive demos. So welcome, and welcome. You are currently attending part 2 of the New to Nearpod series, which is Creating with Nearpod, which is actually my personal favorite as far as the sessions go. In this session today, we're actually going to explore how to customize and build those interactive and digital lessons that are tailored to your students' needs. Nearpod is one of my favorite professional platforms. Just because of all the things that you can do with the platform. So whether you are actually starting from scratch or you're kind of remixing a pre-made lesson, we're actually going to walk through how Nearpod helps you to personalize instruction in just a few clicks. As we get started, I want you to please remember to post your questions in the Q&A panel. Please do not post your questions in the chat. This does help our moderators ensure that your questions are seen and answered. And it also ensures that you don't really miss any helpful responses from your Nearpod mates that are with us today. So for those of you that are just joining, my name is Brittany Quinn. Again, I am a consultant on the customer education team here at Renaissance. And I am a former middle school ELA teacher. So shout out to all my middle school teachers out there. And I have turned into a tech trainer. So when I am not helping educators, I love DIY. I love pretending to be a Pilates pro, even though I sometimes am in class fighting for my life. And most importantly, I love to learn and create. So again, my name is Brittany. I am a consultant for customer education here at Renaissance, and I am just super excited to be here with you this afternoon. So I would like to take a moment to kind of center our session around the guiding question that you see here on the screen. How can Nearpod enhance teaching resources to create academically engaging lessons that supports students' learning? As we walk through our session today, I really invite you to keep this question in mind. How can you use Nearpod to help you better meet your students' needs? And how might it help increase engagement or clarify those learning goals that hopefully you are setting with your students? So at Renaissance, our mission has remained the same since 1986, and that's really just to accelerate learning for all students, regardless of their ability level, their background, or their location. I am so sorry, guys. I did not know I still had my music going. Got the soft tunes in the background, and I am just talking. My apologies. However, the mission at Renaissance really kind of guides everything that we do. Today, we're actually going to continue that mission through Nearpod by really empowering you to design those impactful Nearpod lessons using what you already have, enhancing those lessons with those multimedia aspects, and really boosting engagement through those interactive activities. We're also aligning with the ISTE standard 2.5B, which does focus on designing those authentic learning experiences that really integrate those digital tools to help deepen understanding. Now, if you would like a copy of today's session, the notes feature on my Nearpod is going to be your friend. All you have to do is just click on the icon in the right-hand corner of your student view screen, and you can actually type notes directly on the screen. So this is a super cool feature that you can try out today, as well as use with your students in class. And again, just another quick reminder, please post your questions in the Q&A panel. Do not post them in the chat. This really does help our moderators make sure that your questions are answered and seen in a timely fashion. So let's get started. Before we actually begin today's session, I do want to take the opportunity just to kind of give you a heads up of our login screen. If this is your first time utilizing Nearpod today, this is how you are going to log in. If you do not have an account, you can sign up. It is completely free, no charge. If you already have an account, please take the opportunity to log in now on a different screen. So come out of the webinar, open up a new web page, and log in to your Nearpod account, or use the next couple of minutes to create your own unique Nearpod account. So once you get started with Nearpod, you are going to be able to start with what we call a pre-made lesson. And if you were like me, my philosophy when I was in the classroom was, I do not like to reinvent the wheel. If someone has already taken the opportunity to create these things for me, why not utilize the resources that I have at my disposal? And that is one of the reasons why I really, really love Nearpod. There are hundreds of thousands of teachers across the world who has taken the time to create and vet these awesome lessons. So why not start with a pre-made lesson? Find a lesson that interests you in the Nearpod lesson library, and then you can kind of Nearpodize it. That's one of the words that I've been learning. I love that word. It's so funny to me. But you can kind of jazz it up, put your own spin on it, but the bones of the lesson is there. And the great thing about these pre-made lessons, you can filter by grade, you can filter by subject, you can even filter by standard. So not only have these lessons been created for you, they have been aligned to your state standards, which just blows my mind. So what I am going to do, I am actually going to pivot out of the webinar. So I am leaving my webinar screen and I am opening a new tab and I am going to nearpod.com. Once in Nearpod, this is going to be your home screen. So hopefully you had the opportunity to go to the session earlier with Liz. She is another amazing consultant here at Renaissance. And she kind of taught you about the ins and out of the Nearpod dashboard. So I'm not going to go through that. But when you're at your home, when you are on your home screen, if you look in the top left-hand corner, you're going to see this little hamburger here, as I like to refer to it. And we're going to click on that. From there, I am going to go down and I am going to look at I'm going to click on that Nearpod library. Once I am in the Nearpod library, the more than 22,000 lessons, activities, videos, they're actually going to populate. And from here is my favorite feature. Filter, filter, filter. I cannot express that enough. Now, I have a rising first grader. She is going to the first grade. So I have lived in Nearpod these last couple of weeks because I taught middle school. I do not know how to teach a first grader phonics. I am fighting for my life over here, sounding out all these words. I had to call my sister and ask her what letter, how can you tell the difference between the letter I and the letter E? So when I log into Nearpod, the very first thing I do, I look for my grades, and I'm going to go to first grade. However, you have second grade, you have third grade, all the way through high school. Once I've selected my grade, I am going to take a look over here to the right at this filter standards. And I love this filter standards because the fact that I can look for those Georgia standards of excellence, or I can look for those Nevada standards, or those Tennessee standards, or those Texas standards, that just really ensures that the content I am delivering to my class is aligned to what they are supposed to be learning as set forth by the state. So I'm going to scroll down. Let me zoom in so you all can see. I have my international standards of technology. I have those next generation science standards, those common core standards. And I'm going to go down and I am actually going to look for Georgia. So once I see Georgia, I'm going to click on Georgia there. And then I can search social studies. I can search for mathematics, science, ELA, and then technology. And I'm going to go to English language arts. And then my first grade. So now it is going to shuffle. And if you take a look at the top, this is another place that I really like to point out to people. Not everything in Nearpod is going to be a lesson. And when I say a lesson, I mean that essential question that I do, that you do, that we do. So up here, I can filter. And now I am only looking at lessons. These are going to be those activities that have that essential question. They have that teacher-led activity. They have that student-led activity. They have that independent practice for your student. And then I can also filter with just activities. Maybe I don't want to use a Nearpod lesson. Maybe I want to teach this lesson myself. I have been in education for over 15 years. There are some standards that I can teach like the back of my hand, but coming up with an activity to go along with the standard, sometimes I say they're asking for too much. This is where Nearpod can support you. I've taught this dynamic lesson. Now I want my students to practice in Nearpod. I can filter and just look at activities. If I hover over, I see here, I have this draw it activity that supports grades 1 through 3. I have a drag and drop activity that supports grades kindergarten and first grade. I have this drag and drop activity. I have a time to climb quiz, which I absolutely love. I love time to climb. We're going to talk about that a little later. And then I have another drag and drop activity. So we can just look by activities. And then lastly, we can filter with just videos. So you've taught this lesson, you've given them an activity, but before you want to kind of release them on their own, let them explore with the activity, maybe you want to show a video. Now, if you are like Georgia, let me rephrase that. If you are like my district in Georgia, I am from Atlanta Public Schools, and they have YouTube under lock and key. I have to jump through 700 hoops just to show a YouTube video in my classroom. And sometimes it's more trouble than it's worth. One of the great things about Nearpod is that there are already preloaded videos in the platform for you. You again search that standard, that subject, that grade, and it is going to populate the videos accessible to you in that Nearpod library. So these are just a few of the resources that you can incorporate into your lesson to kind of really Nearpodize it, to make sure that not only your students are engaged, but that they are interacting with the activities. So I am going to actually come out of my team screen, my Zoom screen, apologies, and I'm going to jump back into my Nearpod. So if you would meet me back into the Nearpod, we're actually going to keep going. Now, not only are you relegated to the Nearpod pre-made activities, you can also bring in your own resources. And that's another component that I love about Nearpod. It's not this one size fit all box that all teachers have to fall into. We understand teachers, you are the teacher in your classroom. You know your students best. You know what resources would benefit them. You are not relegated to using our pre-made activities. I have been teaching for 15 years. Before Nearpod, I was a Google Slides girly. Before Google Slides, I was a PowerPoint princess. And I have so many presentations that I have either created over the years. It's been sent to me, and I just kind of house them in my drive. But sometimes there's, like, for example, citing textual evidence. That is my favorite standard. I have so many presentations that I have created on citing textual evidence that it wouldn't even dawn on me to use someone else's resource. I can bring those presentations right into Nearpod. So it is fantastic. So I'm going to come out of my Nearpod again. I'm going to go back here into my team screen. And again, I'm going to go to those dots or those lines or that hamburger in the top left-hand corner. And then I'm going to click on that, create a new lesson. This is where you are going to start if you want to bring in your own resources. So this is only if you want to bring in your own resources. Now from here, you actually have several options. You can start from scratch. So that means you are actually going to build the presentation in Nearpod itself. Or you can actually upload a lesson. You can explore the Nearpod library like we did a few minutes ago, or you can use the Google Slides add-on. Now, we won't get into the Google Slides add-on today because that is a rabbit hole that I do not have enough time to fall down. But if you have some time to explore, I definitely recommend taking a look at it. So I am actually going to select upload a lesson. Wouldn't be technology if it didn't stop working. So I'm gonna go to create a lesson. I'm gonna go to upload. And here we are again. Let me refresh. I'm gonna try it one more time. So come out, let's try it again. There we go. You know, they say third time's a charm. So once you click upload a lesson, it is going to ask you how you want to bring that lesson in. You can either bring it in from your Google Drive, you could bring it in from your OneDrive, or you can search your actual PC, which is what I am going to do. So let me go to my desktop and let's search for the phonics lesson that I am actually working on with my daughter this week. So once I've identified the activity that I want to bring into my session, it's going to ask me, do I want to create a slideshow or do I want to upload it as individual slides? I personally like to upload it as individual slides. However, it is completely up to you. Now, what I want to bring your attention to down here in the bottom right-hand corner is this file processing. If you are like me and you are running into the school building and trying to upload your presentation at 7 o'clock and your kids are coming at 7:15, don't be like Brittany. Please don't be like Brittany. I do recommend doing this the day before because depending on how big the lesson is, this may take a moment and we don't know how long that moment is going to be. So I always recommend doing it the day before. So once the file has processed, it has now uploaded my lesson and I have my activity right here on my screen. So it's just simple as that. Yes, do not be like Brittany. Sometimes I would come in. I always said my first period was my guinea pig class because I was always discombobulated. Second period is when I really got things going, and then first period would just get it the next day. All righty, so now let's actually talk about my favorite component of Nearpod, bringing these activities to life. I had 130 students. My largest class, I had 32 students, and of those 32 students, I had 24 little boys. 24 sixth grade little boys. So my class was chaotic is an understatement. I had to find things to keep these little boys engaged in this activity. And one thing that worked for me was competitiveness. Now, one of the great things about Nearpod is that there are so many resources at your disposal. Once you've came into Nearpod and you've located one of those 22,000 lessons, or you've actually uploaded your own, Nearpod is going to help you bring that content to life by making it interactive. You can embed questions directly into videos to check for understanding, which is my favorite feature. You want to take it a step further, you can do VR field trips, you can have 3D models to immerse the students into the learning experience. There are really so many different avenues you can go down with regards to Nearpod. So I am going to just play a couple. So this is an example of a video. Once I click on the video, it is going to show you, it's going to ask you, do you want your students to listen to this themselves, or do you actually want to play it on your own device? Now, I like to play it on my device first because I like to stop, I like to talk, I like to discuss, but sometimes I like my students to listen on their own. So again, just kind of use that teacher discretion. Once you choose the video, I'm going to speed it up because I want you to see one of the questions in action. Press play.
Around in space all by ourselves. Oh no, our solar system is part of something much, much bigger, a galaxy.
Now, what I wanted you to see with this video, you can actually embed questions into the video. When I was first starting out teaching, I would play these videos for my class, and I felt my first week teaching, that's always when I am the hoarsest. I lose my voice every year because I feel like I'm just talking. And I don't want my students to hear from me. I want to hear from them. So being able to embed questions into my video was a game changer. Yes, I love her videos as well. She is so animated. I love it. I don't know if you can tell, I'm a little animated myself. So I love when I find videos that kind of reflect how I am as a teacher. But embedding these videos embedding these questions, in these videos allow my students to be more than just those passive listeners, but now they are actively engaging with the content. This is a quick way for me to gauge understanding, to see how they're internalizing the concept that I am presenting. So it's just amazing. I really can't talk enough about Nearpod, but it doesn't stop there. After students have explored those key ideas in the video, they've answered those questions. Now you can even take it a step further with the interactive media experience. On the screen here, this is a 3D model of the Milky Way. They can rotate it, they can zoom in, they can investigate. This is an excellent way to kind of spark curiosity and deepen that understanding right from your student seat. These kinds of experiences really make that abstract concept feel more memorable. So these are just a few examples of some of those activities. This is another VR experience that you can use. Nearpod really lets you bring your content to life in those powerful ways. We started with that short video that we embedded those questions right inside. We turned that passive watching into that active learning. Then we went a step further and we deepened that exploration with that 3D model, especially for those science teachers I saw in the chat. Students could rotate, they could zoom, they could really get a real feel for what they are getting ready to learn. And now we can really transport them with a VR field trip. How many times can your students say, hey mom, I went to space today? I know I would look at my daughter and like, what are you talking about, ma'am? But this is really an excellent way. I've taken my students to visit the Eiffel Tower. We went, what is it, the little gondolas in Italy where they ride down the lakes. We have done all of those experiences right from the classroom. This is an excellent outer space experience that your students can view from a whole different perspective, right from their device. It is media, but it's also that meaningful engagement. So now let's see that live demo. So I'm going to pivot back to my Nearpod. I have my word family video. So you're asking me, Brittany, you showed me all these really cool features. How do I put them in Nearpod themselves? That is an excellent question, and I am glad you asked. Once you've uploaded your video or you are using one of the pre-made lessons, let me go out just a quick second because I feel like I skipped a step. So let's say I go over here, I go to my Nearpod library, and I want to teach about the solar system. And I want to look at an actual lesson about the solar system. Once I've found that lesson about the solar system, it's going to allow me to preview the lesson or add the lesson to my library. So I'm going to click on Add to Library. Once I've added it to my library, I'm going to go back to my home screen. And now this lesson is here for me to utilize with my students. Now I have two options. I can use this lesson as it is, or I can click on this edit button right here. And now I can make a duplicate of the lesson and I can add my own flair to it. This is where I can bring in those videos. This is how I can bring in that VR experience of the solar system. This is where we can use that 3D model. So I wanted to make sure that I showed you that. And I apologize for skipping that step because it is a super important step. So let me go back to my lesson. I'm gonna go back to my home screen. So I have my activity. Again, I clicked on edit. And I want to add a video into this activity. My daughter loves videos, especially if I can find a video with some music. So here, this is what I want to add. It's going to ask me, would I like to add a multiple choice question? Would I like to add a time to climb? So I'm going to scroll down. And I am going to say, I want to upload a video. So once I select that video option, it is going to redirect me to a new screen. From here, I can use the videos already in Nearpod, or I can go straight to YouTube and search for any type of content that I like. Now, I am at home, so I am going to use Nearpod because I felt like I was deprived when I was in the classroom. Once I found that video, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, it's going to say save. So I'm going to click on save. And now, as you can see, this video is now embedded in my actual lesson. Now, let's say I want to take it one step further. I have my video. I want to now engage my daughter or my students, for that matter, in some active learning. If you see this blue icon here at the bottom, it's going to ask me if I want to add an activity inside of my video. This isn't something extra that your students come out of. It's actually in the video. Do you want an open-ended question or do you want multiple choice? Now, my daughter is in the first grade, so I like to lean towards that multiple choice. And then I can type the question here. I promise you I know how to spell. I put my A, put my T, And now I'm going to go back to the video. And as you can see, there is my question right there. Now, let's say I want to move
Take
this.
your corn yield to new record.
I can move the question anywhere I want it to live within the video. So this is just one feature that you can utilize in your lesson with your students in order to engage them in that learning. So I'm going to go back to Nearpod. Now, once you've incorporated those interactive tools in your lesson, let's talk about how you can tailor your lessons to keep your students academically engaged. Yes, taking a VR field trip to Italy is amazing, but that does not align to the Georgia standard, even though I wish it did. It does not. How are you going to keep your students academically engaged? Whether you are customizing one of those pre-made lessons that we talked about, or you are building a lesson from scratch, or you're simply using a lesson that you've had in the past, Nearpod is actually going to make it super easy to add those interactive moments that really drive thinking and kind of foster that participation. So what I want us to do, I want us to take a look at this first activity. This is one way that Nearpod keeps students actively involved. And this is one of my favorite activities, which is called matching pairs. This activity goes beyond that simple recall. It reinforces that key vocabulary and concepts by having students make connections between terms and those visuals. It's interactive, it provides immediate feedback, and it encourages that critical thinking. Plus, it supports those different learning styles, especially when you have those visual learners, really helping them to stay engaged. Something else I want to bring to your attention, Nearpod also promotes privacy. If you look in the bottom, I can turn on or turn off my student names. All this does is it hides the students' names. I never want my students to feel shy or reserved or not participate because they are afraid that their classmates are going to make fun of them. If you click on this icon, it's a little eye. It's going to have a dash through it now. When you are looking, when you toggle between the student view, so this is what your students will see, and you go to teacher, this is now what you see as a teacher. I can see how many matches they got correct. I can see how many times they tried, and it is completely anonymous. I always tell my students, don't be afraid to make mistakes, but it's easy to say that. And then you have my name displayed on the board with all these reds beside it. I'm not going to want to make mistakes in your classroom, Miss Quinn, if I see all this red by my name. So now I always have my students out of order as well. So now no one knows what you're doing. You just click. There's that immediate feedback. Once they get it correct, it's no longer on their screen. So this is a great way to kind of make that learning interactive. So now your students have matched that key vocabulary. Let's take it a step further. This is an example of another Nearpod activity by the name of drag and drop. This is going to keep learners actively engaged by asking them to now apply what they've learned. You are going to take those objects and you're going to place them in their correct spots on the solar system. It's hands-on, it reinforces that spatial understanding, and it builds that content knowledge, all in an interactive way. I feel like I keep saying it. If Nearpod gave me $1 for every time I said I love Nearpod, I feel like I could retire. But I really do love Nearpod. And the great thing about all of this, all of these activities that I am showing to you translates into reports that you can print out. So now you are engaging your students and you are tracking their learning. And if you are like me, I am evidence-based. If I tell my parent that my student isn't learning something in class, I want to have some concrete evidence to show them of what they are not learning and how we can support them. So let's try it again. So I'm going to go back to my activity. My daughter is working, she's learning, we're working with the word cat. I want to add another activity. So I'm going to go up to the top here. I can add or draw it. I can do multiple choice. I can do that drag and drop. I can do a collaborate board. I can do a matching pairs. So let's look at matching pairs. I go matching pairs, and then I want to add it. So now it's going to ask me what pair I want to make. So I want to do my first pair. I can upload images. So I'm going to say the letter M, and then I'm going to say UG, because this is a word we are not working with. Now I've made that matching pair. I want to do another one. I'm going to do the letter B, then I'm going to do AT. So it's just as simple as that. So let's do car. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, as I like to say. And now I have an interactive activity for my daughter to engage with, but most importantly, she is learning the content that I just taught her. All righty, so now this is my favorite part of the lesson. I feel like I have been talking. You've seen how easy it is to build those engaging lessons in Nearpod. Now it is your turn to jump in. I want you to search from those 22,000 pre-made lessons, or even just upload one of your own. Then I want you to choose two quick tasks, maybe a video and a matching pairs like I did. Maybe you can do a virtual field trip and a drag and drop. The possibilities are endless. I want you to choose two tasks for your students. So whether you're editing a pre-made lesson or you're building from scratch, I want you to try to add some media, and I am going to give you about 7 minutes. Is that enough time? Let me know in the chat if that's enough time. I want to give you about 7 minutes to get in there to kind of fiddle around. And if you have any questions, please drop it in that Q&A so that we can answer. So I am going to stop talking, and I am going to give you the opportunity to get in Nearpod and get your hands wet. Let me set my 7-minute
Worried about
time.
online threats, distractions, and keeping students safe in Google Workspace for education?
I see someone asked how to get to the library. When you are on your Nearpod home screen, if you click on these three dashes in the top left-hand corner, it's right there and it says library. And then it's going to populate the special lessons that we have. So these are lessons that are special made. We have lessons for Christmas, we have some for Halloween. But if you type in a topic or even a standard right in that search bar, it'll populate what we have. So you have about 3 minutes of working time. So I'm gonna be quiet again. That is correct. You click add to library, and once the lesson is in your library, you're going to hover over the lesson to click edit. Edit is how you're going to add in those Nearpod features. So I'm going to add it to my library. Once it's there, I'm going to go back to my main dashboard, look for the lesson I just added, and then I'm going to click that edit. Yes, if you duplicate a slide that you've already made edits to, it will save all those changes that you added. All righty, you have 1 minute left. I hate to tear you away from making all those amazing edits. If you are like me, school in Georgia is starting soon. Our first day back is August the 1st, which is a Friday, which is so crazy to me because why are we going back to school on a Friday? But I am going to be there with bells on, possibly literally with bells on. But I want you to go ahead, find your stopping point, meet me back into the Nearpod. So please add those finishing touches. Someone made a point. This is a live lesson. So when I change my Nearpod screen, it is going to change your Nearpod screen as well. That is a feature that your students will see. So always remind your students to add their finishing touches, go ahead and submit, go ahead and save. You do not have to save your Nearpod lessons if you are physically editing one. If you leave it and come back, all your changes will be there. So you don't have to save any of your changes. So we got about 20 seconds. Meet me back in the Nearpod. All righty. So hopefully you had as much fun clicking around Nearpod as I do every day. Now let's talk about resources because I have given you quite a bit of information. Uh, I know that this is a lot. If you are not experienced with Nearpod, this can be overwhelming, and under no circumstances do I want you to feel like we here at Renaissance are just kind of leaving you out in the cold. On your screen right here, if you need a refresher, this guided workshop experience is here to support you. Whether you're logging in for the first time, whether you are building a lesson from scratch, or you're just exploring how to add that interactive media into those lessons, each one of the buttons you see here on your screen is going to walk you through that process step by step. Take a moment. I'm going to give you about a minute or two, maybe. Pick a tile that is most relevant to you, to your goals. And I kind of want you to explore at your, oops, see, I clicked on a tile. But if you need, so uploading your own resources, if you click on that tile, it's going to take you to that step-by-step guide. So let me go back so you can see it. So just take a moment, click on the buttons, save it if you can. This is an excellent, if you have not been taking notes during this presentation, this is an excellent place to maybe put a note so that you can return back to it so that you have access to these links. All you have to do is click on one of these blue tiles. So how do you embed media to engage students? You click on it and it is going to redirect you to an outside web page. And while we're talking, this is also a feature you can embed in your own Nearpod lessons. Maybe you want to give your students an outside document, but if you let them search the internet, like I let my students do one time, they'll be on Roblox or playing Minecraft. This is a way to have them on the internet, but kind of guiding what they see. So they can only click on what you give them access to. So this screen is in the actual Nearpod lesson. So I'm going to give you about 1 more minute. So any one of these tiles are actual clickable links. So take about 30 seconds. You can click as many links. You can actually click all the links and open them up as outside web pages so that you have access to the content after the session if you haven't been taking any notes. All right, if you are still clicking, so you cannot click on them. Is anyone else having that problem, not being able to click on the links? Anytime I'm having any problems in Nearpod, I always say refresh is my friend. So I would recommend refreshing. I'll also I'm also dropping a couple of the links in the chat. I'm going to drop the link to the document in the chat, and you should be able to open it since some of you are having difficulty clicking the link. So let me know if that, hopefully that works. But as we are drawing to the close, nearing the close of our session, as we get ready to wrap up today, I do want to make sure I encourage you to kind of pause and reflect. How can Nearpod really enhance your current teaching resources to really create those academically engaging lessons that truly support student learning? I know Nearpod can seem like it's all fun and games, but I really want you to, as we go into this 25-26 school year, for those of you that are just coming off summer vacation, I really want you to think how Nearpod can enhance your current instruction in your class. We've taken some moments, we've explored a lesson, you've actually added some media, maybe you've embedded some videos. I really want you to see the difference that it can make when you are using it purposefully with your students. And don't forget, you are not on this journey alone. I am going to drop my email in the chat. Please feel free to reach out. There is no question too big or too small. But I do want to hear from you. Before we close today, I am going to put a collaborate board on the screen. And again, this is another example of an activity that you can do with your students. I would love to hear your voice. I want you to use this board to reflect on today's learning. What was one takeaway from this session? What is going to be your next step with Nearpod? And what's something that you're actually still wondering about that you may have a question that did not get answered today? So take a moment, add your thoughts to each column, and we are actually going to grow together. Yes, I love adding media. Now, I do want to recommend my first Nearpod lesson. I probably had 15 media activities for my students to do, and they were completely overwhelmed. So, as a bit of advice from a media crazy individual like myself, make sure that the media that you are incorporating into your activities are purposeful. You don't want to overwhelm your students with too many activities that they kind of get that the content is actually lost. So I typically recommend, I try not to do, I call myself a Nearpod expert now, and I may be using that word real loosely, but I try not to do more than three, no more than 2 to 3 activities, especially like with videos and VR field trips. We don't want to have too much fluff in the lesson. Yes, making those Nearpod lessons your own. If you don't get anything from me today, please do not reinvent the wheel. There are thousands of lessons you can choose from, and you can edit that lesson to make it reflective of your own teaching style. This is an example of a collaborate board. So what I'm presenting on the screen now, this is a collaborate board. And remember, I have my student names hidden so that everyone is really encouraged to participate, especially when you are using this with your students. I love these translating your PowerPoint presentation into an interactive lesson. Yes, that's excellent. I love that. Yes, math lessons. You can do that. Collaborate. You can upload those whiteboards and you can actually have your students to work out problems on their computer. There's really a myriad of ways that you can use Nearpod with your students. I am loving reading all of these reflections and next step. Yes, that drag and drop is awesome. I still want you all to add your comments to the collaborate board, but I'm going to come out of my Nearpod for just a second and I'm going to go back into my live Zoom screen. And I want to bring your attention, if you are looking at my Zoom screen, on the top right-hand corner is going to be your face. If you click on your face, I want to go to this help and frequently asked questions. A lot of you are asking some fantastic questions on that collaborate board, how to add columns, how to integrate it with Canva. And unfortunately, we're near the end of our presentation and I am not going to be able to answer every single question. However, we have excellent teacher resources for you. So here's that teacher resources link. We offer these types of presentations throughout the year. You can join those blogs, those different communities. I am going to drop this link in the chat for you as well. Now, if you cannot see your comment on the collaborate board, make sure you scroll down. So there is a scroll bar that lives on the right-hand side of all the comments. So I definitely want you all to check out some of those resources that I just dropped in the resources link. If this session today went by too fast and you feel like you still need some additional support, check out some of the other Create with Nearpod sessions that we offer actually during the school year. I definitely recommend attending. Also, all of the sessions that we deliver here at Nearpod are recorded, so you are able to go back and watch the recordings as well. So please add your finishing touches to Nearpod. I'm going to give you about 10 more seconds. All righty, I am changing the screen. So if you are typing, go ahead and press submit. Go ahead and press submit. And thank you so much for being here with me today. Like I said, I have been with Renaissance for a year now. This was my first time presenting at Camp Engage. I was so nervous. I'm kind of sweating, so don't judge me. But thank you for joining today's session. I hope that you are actually walking away with some fresh ideas and the confidence to start bringing Nearpod into your own classroom. If you share your learning on Instagram, TikTok, X, please don't forget to hashtag Camp Engage so that others can celebrate with you. Please take a moment, scan this QR code on your screen to share your feedback. Your insights really help Nearpod make Camp Engage even better and really kind of build that PD and support that teachers like you need. So happy teaching, happy school year, and most importantly, happy Nearpodding. Oh, thank you. You can't tell I'm a newbie. That makes me feel really good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. You all have a great rest of your evening, and I hope to see you at the other presentations tomorrow and Saturday.